Good morning. Welcome to the Human Services Committee meeting of the August 20th, 2024 meeting. We have representatives from the Warren County Youth Bureau, Countryside Adult Home, and Department of Social Services. We'll hear from the Youth Bureau first. I'd like to hear a motion to approve the minutes of the prior committee meeting. Supervisor Runyon and Supervisor Bruno on the second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. So moved. Welcome, Youth Bureau. Good to see you, and thank you for coming today. We have one request, and I'll ask Susan to walk us through that. It's a request to appoint a youth to the Warren County Youth Board.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm Sue Morey. I'm the director of the Youth Bureau, and Sean Eaton is the assistant director. And I do have one request. We've been kind of adding to the youth board to make sure that we have representation from youth. So this is a youth. Her name is Samantha Smead, and she's a youth representative from Queensberry, and we'd like to add her to the Youth Advisory Board for Warren County.
Motion to bring that to the floor. Supervisor Strainer and Supervisor Runyon on the second. Discussion or questions for Sue? Bruno?
Give us just a little background on the individual.
Sure. So I haven't actually met, well, I met Samantha once. Our youth program coordinator has spoken with her several times. So she has a real interest in I shouldn't say politics, but like community involvement and many other things. She's lives in Queensberry. The term would run from January 1st through December 31st. And this is an applicant. She put in her application. We called for, sent out information to all of the schools throughout Warren County looking for a couple of youth. So we received 3 youth applicants, and I think 2 of them followed through, and Samantha is one of them. The other young man, Brian Zachary Feltstat, he also is on our board, and he's also got appointed to the Governor's Youth Council. So in which way they have a voice as to, kind of youth issues, the role that the youth play on the Youth Advisory Board. And I'll just give a brief update on our funding streams that come from OCFS. The youth would sit on our board and they would review the applicants and decide if the funding should go to the town and village recreation programs and or community programs. We meet at least 2 times a year. For the coming year, we will be looking hopefully at some of the bylaws for the Youth Advisory Board to make sure that they don't need any changing. So we will meet a little bit more often for this coming year. So she'll get some real experience on how a board operates, the rules, Robert's Rules of Order, and those types of things. So
What year is
she is a junior in high school, I believe.
the other thing? Is you only had 3 applications from the whole state.
We did, but fortunately, we had those 3 and that's part of what we want to promote a little bit is to, one, we'll need a representative to move forward to the Governor's Youth Council, because the young man, the Zachary, will be potentially aging out. As they go to college, there's too many conflicts. So he'll probably age out. We can keep him on our youth board for a longer period of time. They can stay on, and then they actually can become community members on the youth board. But hopefully Samantha may be one that would put her application in and fill the spot of Zachary for the Governor's Youth Council. So that's one of the roles of the Youth Bureau. along with all of the funding streams that come from OCFS and distributing those
Thank you.
dollars. You're welcome.
Anyone else? Yeah.
Are the youth, are they, do the, school counselors recommend, are they recommended by school teachers or
Yes.
counseling?
So sometimes, I mean, we really we knew that Warren County Youth Board did not have any youth members like a couple of years ago. So we gained one youth member, just word of mouth, and then he contacted us. That was Jack Sweet. So he became our first youth member.
Jack.
And then through him, his friend was Zachary, who said, I'd love to be part of that. Is that something that I can do? And so then Zachary came on board, and then Samantha was the sending it out to the school district. So we probably need to do a little bit more PR about what that's about. And now that we have 3 members, if we go through the bylaws, we can determine whether, what our core group of youth should be. And then we can advertise as saying, we need to fill 2 spots on our youth board and have something that's a little bit more precise as far as like how many we're looking for. And it can be actually a kind of a campaign in some respects, like moving forward once we establish how many we want on the board or how many the bylaws allow for. So that's kind of a goal.
And we'll have our interagency coalition that Nina's department runs starting up in October again, and there's a lot of school personnel there with superintendents and counselors and that type of stuff. So that'll give us an opportunity to make some connections there and reach out to schools that way as well.
Perfect, great.
Just to get a profile of some of these, the youth individuals, Jack Sweet, graduate of Glens Falls High School. A year or 2 ago, he was one of the youth speakers at the Glens Falls Queensbury Memorial Day Parade. So, I mean, we're getting the involvement of, the best of the best, I think.
Good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
You answered my question.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
So we've got the motions on the floor. I'll call the question. All in favor of approval of the appointment of the youth to the Warren County Youth Bureau, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Moved. I think you addressed the funding stream. Are you complete with that, Sue?
Yeah, I can just give you some numbers.
Okay, yeah, please. Yeah, well, I think the first one was the resource allocation plan.
Yeah,
right?
so we're moving forward with the resource allocation plan for the 2022-23. That's moving forward. The programs are funded. We're doing the monitoring of each of the youth sports funded programs and the youth teams funded programs. But our coming year, which starts October 1st, we have new funding available for youth recreation and or sports oriented teams programming. It's a little bit less than last year, not a substantial number. But for youth development program funding, we're going to receive 53,736. For youth sports and education funding, this is the funding that's tied to the online sports betting. It's 20,000. And then for youth team sports, which we didn't actually know that they were going to put this in as a legislative ad this year. It's 28,177 as compared to last year's, which was 28,444. So a slight dip in funding. And this year there is no specific infrastructure funding. So that funding stream that was tied is not available this year. So we'll be working on collecting applications. I think our next step is the Board of Supervisors will get some information via email, if that's the easiest, so that you can spread the word, and then we'll be posting on social media, social media and other avenues to get the word out that applications are ready to be received. And then we're going to try to fast track it a little bit ahead of schedule so that we can get programs set and everything before, our goal would be October-ish, even if October is the start of the program year, so to speak. So moving forward, you'll receive an email from us with program application information.
And we now have a Warren County social media page, right? To share.
Not yet, however,
Okay.
we do have a Warren County Youth Bureau email,
Yep.
and we're working on the social media piece so that this information can be shared out to the public. So, anyone that you know that has a youth program, just have them, give us a call.
Thanks. That concludes your,
That concludes.
okay,
Thank
thank you
you.
again for coming,
Thank you.
Sean.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next we'll hear from the countryside. Good morning, Amy.
Good morning. I only have two request items. The first one is to move 30,000 from part-time salaries into overtime and 9,000 of unemployment insurance also into overtime salaries. We need to cover expenses through year end. It doesn't matter how creative I am and how much per diem I use. We're at a deficit as soon as we start the year because of holiday pay. I run only 10 staff members that's the minimum state mandated. At 11 holidays a year, we just can't make it.
Motion to bring request number 1 to the floor, please. Supervisor Bruno and Supervisor Runyon on the second. Questions or comments? Hearing nothing, I will call the question. All in favor of approval of the request number 1, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. On to request number 2.
The second request is to do a 2-year agreement with a educational platform called Realis. The first year is a little bit more expensive because of the setup of the program at $2,553.49, and then the second year is discounted at $1,725. This meets the educational requirements that myself and my staff have to have, and it's all based on industry standards that it's just New York State's always putting new stuff out now, and there's attachment. The libraries are extensive. So I really think it's a really good opportunity for Countryside. And ultimately it's what's best for our residents.
Motion to bring that to the floor. Supervisor Strainer and Supervisor Turner on the second. Questions or comments?
How is Relias administered? Is that like a computer program that you watch or?
It's an online portal system, and it actually makes the staff be more accountable too, versus me running around and saying, oh, did you get your in-service done? It's all on their phone. They get a text message, says what they're due, what they're lacking, scores, different areas that they need improvement on. It's a fantastic program.
And then you can just check to see who's up
Right.
to date on their training and who's not.
Yep.
Thank you. All I have.
Okay, thank you. We've got the motion on the floor. I'll call the question. All in favor of approval of request number 2, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. The discussion items, the census, and you've already spoken a little bit about the overtime, but.
Yeah,
you-
the census is continuing to rise. So we're at 30, actually 37, because this was July's. And we have 4 or 5 at least pending. So I see us by mid-March. I kind of project us to be full.
Any other questions or comments for Amy? Yep.
And what number is for
48.
48?
Hearing nothing. Thank you very much, Amy. Good to
Thank
see you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the attachments. Those are always helpful. Last but certainly not least, Department of Social Services, welcome Nina and Julie.
Good morning. Okay, so personnel requests 1 and 2 are being made to update the organizational chart with titles that are appropriate for the position and allow flexibility within the department. This includes lateral and promotional movement in our overall recruitment and retention initiatives. The changes are requested since we have vacant and provisional appointments. We do it to align with testing and to make sure that we're not putting somebody in a position and then asking them to retest. So that prevents any issues with exam and list requirements, and the senior clerk test is scheduled for this fall.
Are you suggesting that we can combine 1 and 2?
Yes, sorry.
Okay. A motion to bring that to the floor, Mr. Bruno and Mr. Wild on the second. Questions or comments for Nina?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
Nina, is this something that can wait until budget period in next year?
Well, so this has been kind of an ongoing process through the department to change some of these titles. And like I said, we like to take opportunity of when we have the vacancies. With the test coming up in the fall, I'd like to fill it provisionally in aligning. I'd prefer not to have staff take multiple tests, especially with a grade 4 position. So I would like to pursue filling this. We do certainly hold off on any changes that we don't feel need to be done right away and request that those be done during budget time.
So the salaries will remain the same?
Correct. It's a matter of changing the title. It's aligning it with the duties. The title of resource clerk puts a person in a position where they really can't move.
Mhm.
And especially in our department, people like to have the opportunity to take promotional exams. And it really works out well once someone gets familiar with our organization for us to retain them. So it's really to make sure that we can move people into positions where it might be a benefit for the department, but also for that person who is coming into employment with the county.
Great. So the grade's gonna stay the same,
Correct.
right? So no future moves in terms of salary. Okay, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Two-part question. These are both full-time positions, is that correct?
Yep.
And can you just explain, I have no idea what a grade for an employee means.
Where they start for salary.
Okay. The grades are specifically salary based. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Right? Did I explain that? I don't know.
They're all.
yeah, go ahead.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. The grades are established as part of the CSEA bargaining unit process. So these are all union positions, and union positions have specific grades, and then they get specific increments as they advance in years. So if someone's in a grade 4 position, after they've spent a year, they go to a salary at a grade 4, step 1, or increment 1, a grade 4, increment 2, up through increment 5, and then it tapers off a little bit after that between 5 and 10 and then above.
Thank you, Mr. Papa.
Julie, or Nina, can you tell me currently how many members social services has as far as personnel? Are about
34.
Okay. So within the department, I'm down there on a regular basis. There's a lot of, one day you may see a person in this position, and a couple months down the road, they may have essentially moved up to the second floor, or they're doing other things. And also social services done, in my opinion, an excellent job of making sure that during busier seasons, individuals are cross-trained, and they may be helping out with the SNAP applications, but then when heat season comes, there's a need for them to kind of move over and do that.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. I should have probably qualified that a little bit more. So the positions are also civil service positions, state civil service. So there are grades associated with state civil service positions for each job. What happens with this one here, and the reason we'd like to support this, is because we have resource clerk positions. People in those positions have to be tested. They can also test for this senior clerk position if they wanted to, But if we don't have any senior clerk positions, then we generally won't have anyone take that test. So we're trying to align our civil service tests that we run on Saturdays with the positions that we have. And this position, HR supports it. They think it makes more sense for social services at this time. And then they're going to schedule a test in the fall to match this position. So people can test, and then if they pass the test, then they're qualified to move into the position.
They changed from provisional to
It's
permanent.
not, yeah, it's kind of complex and, you know.
Mr. Chair.
Yep, yeah, please.
Just one follow-up question. So when we say somebody is a full-time position, does that mean it's 5 days a week, 40 hours? Is that what that means?
It's
5 days a week, 35 hours.
35 hours.
Yeah,
They're supposed to take 1 hour lunch each day, so that adds up to the 40 hours.
Oh, okay. I call that 40.
Right.
But thank you.
Good questions. Anything else, any comments or? So I think we've got the motion on the floor. All in favor of approval of request number 1 and 2, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Request number 3 is regarding to an MOU.
yes, we'd like to continue our agreement with workforce development. Our partnership remains valuable. It promotes our workforce initiatives. Our department continues to see improvement in our participation and engagement rates, specifically in our safety net population, which is our adult childless couples or singles, which is important for our OTDA work participation and outcomes to meet federal requirements. We found a really good balance between the Department of Social Services employment staff, as well as the Career Center for the Pathways class. So we'd like to continue that. This program is funded through an allocation that we receive, which is called Triple FS and SNAP ENT funds.
Motion to bring that to the floor. Mr. Wild and Mr. Runyon on the second. Mr. Wild.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Nina, do you have any metrics about the success of this program?
Sure. So we've had 8 classes so far. We hold the classes monthly. We've had 32 participants. 6 of those participants obtained employment right after the class. And then even if their case doesn't open for temporary assistance, those individuals are still remain engaged at the Career Center. So we're supporting that direct link for individuals to access the Career Center as well as our services. For example, the state has a 50% engagement and participation rate. For our safety net population, we're averaging about 85%, which is really well. We struggle in our TANF caseload, our families, and a lot of that has to do with transportation or childcare barriers, but it's certainly an area that we're focusing on now to see how we can increase those numbers. If individuals don't attend the class, their case doesn't open. It's part of our employment plan that they run through this program so we can give them the job skills that they need to enter the workforce.
So 6 out of 35, if you don't mind, Mr.
No,
Chairman,
please, yeah.
maybe a couple follow-ups. 6 out of 35, how's that different from what it was before you engaged Liza and her team?
Well, our participation rates haven't been this high since we've started this program. And I just want to note those 6 individuals diverted their case opening. So that was right after completion of that class. So individuals have obtained jobs after their case is opened. However, there's certain requirements now that keep the case being open longer. That's part of the OTDA requirements. So we are seeing cases maybe not remain open as long. However, if they obtain employment, the case has to stay open for their income gets disregarded for 6 months. So it's to prevent the benefits cliff.
Well, the only reason I ask is it's important because of our needs in the workforce.
Mhm.
And I appreciate everything that Liza and you guys are doing. I'm just looking for those metrics to say, how are we doing? Because taking these people off the rolls and into employment is a very good thing.
We're certainly ranking higher in New York State in terms of our engagement and participation. So we're doing well compared to other counties.
Thank you.
What's OTDA?
Office for Temporary and Disability Assistance. Yeah, our oversight agencies are OTDA, OCFS, Office for Children and Family Services, and Department of Health, UH.
DSS has a trunk load of acronyms. Can you also, for maybe people here and the viewing public, TANF stands for, I know what it stands for. but
So it's your families,
Yeah. Temporary assistance to needy
families,
yeah.
right?
Any other questions or comments? We've got a motion for request number 3. I'll call the question. All in favor of approval?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Request number 4 is amendment to the budget.
So this request, we've been working on trying to get scanners for our units. So this is to utilize our Medicaid administration cap, to purchase the scanners for the Medicaid unit. This, stream of funding is 100% reimbursable, and it really assists our department in records management. We utilize a state electronic filing system known as IEDR, which allows for more efficient workflow between the DSS units as well as our state partners. It really is more efficient for the units to have these desk scanners, and we've been working on trying to obtain them. So this is a stream of funding that, while it increased our budget, it is 100% reimbursable.
That also helps with individuals relocating to Warren County from other
Counties, right?
whether they're contiguous or throughout the state.
Yes, yep.
Mr. Bruno.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. How does the reimbursement work? You purchase the equipment, then apply for the reimbursement? Or
Once we have expended the cost, it's put on our monthly claim. We do claiming every month with the state to get our reimbursement. It's all based on expenses. So that particular one would go on a claim against Medicaid at 100% reimbursement.
what's usually the timetable for reimbursement?
3 months.
Huh?
Yep.
Wow. Thank you.
Bad. Not bad. Motion?
Yeah, motion to. We already, no, so motion, would you like to make that, Mr. Wells?
Yes, I would.
A second, Ms. Runyon, discussion or comments? Hearing nothing, I'll call the question. All in favor of approval of request number 4, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. We've got request number 5.
So our overtime costs continue to increase. Very similar to Amy, these expenses are unavoidable. The majority of our overtime expenses are due to on-call, which is after hours that we're required to provide. And that's, homeless, child protective services, foster care, anything after hours.
Motion to bring that to the floor, Supervisor Runyon. I hear a second. Supervisor Strainer, questions or comments? Those numbers are pretty consistent throughout the year, Amy, or there's no busier times, just.
No, it would be hard to say. We are overall seeing an increase of homeless calls after hours. Our CPS calls ebb and flow. But we're getting busy, that's for sure.
We have a motion. I'll call the question. All in favor of approval of request number 5, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. We've got any discussion items. The commissioners report and activities and update, as well as the quarterly newsletter, was mailed to members. I think it was this past Wednesday.
Mhm.
You all should have received it. If you didn't, get back in touch with myself or Nina.
I did just have a couple of things I
Sure.
wanted to mention. On September 7th, the foster care team will be recruiting foster parents at the Morel Community Center Block Party. On September 10th, our Director of Services, Tammy Breen, will be hosting a public meeting regarding our Child and Family Services 5-year plan. I'd also like to note that the temporary assistance and SNAP units provided replacement benefits to 68 households from the storm on July 16th. On August 16th, Rebecca Hill, our principal social welfare examiner from the temporary assistance unit, retired after 33 years of service. We wish her well and hope she enjoys a little bit of retirement before she comes back as a HEAP temporary examiner in the fall. So hopefully doesn't like it that much. And we're also hosting our first round of sessions, our employment unit for medical providers, to explain the importance of the medical forms that we send out and request that they complete and get back to us so we can engage individuals in employment and wellness plans. And hopefully get feedback from them to see if we can improve that process for them. I think that's all I had.
Thank you. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning. The revenue and expenditure report is through July 31st. And as you can see, we're just a little over 50% on both our expenses and our revenue. So after the 7 months of the year, that's really right on target where we want to be. And there is an overtime report. You know, we've done a lot of talking about overtime, but if you look at the report, it really is broken down so that you can see exactly where the overtime costs are coming from. And a lot of it is CPS, of course. We've also had quite a lot of training that is mandatory for all of our workers. So that probably isn't going to change a whole lot, because training, there's a lot of startup, but there is also a lot of ongoing training for our workers as well. And as you can see on that, a lot of them are opting for comp time when they can, and that really saves a lot on the overtime cost. That's it.
Any questions for Julie or for Nina? Steve. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any hope I was supposed to do this at the beginning of the meeting, but privilege of the floor, public comment from any of the other supervisors. I don't think we have anyone. One person, I guess. Hearing nothing. Any other, again, last comments or questions? Motion to adjourn. Brandon, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Thanks.
You were close, Ben.
Yeah.